today we're going to do our first step on our button bowl. Now this project takes several layers of glue and therefore needs to dry. So this one will take several days. It does take a lot of patience, but it has a really cool end result. Now besides the bag, you'll definitely need a cup of some sort. I have marbles in mine for some reason, for your balloon to rest down into. And while this is not necessary, it does help me. I have a pen to draw on the balloon so I know where to paint to. And then I'm going to put a few weights inside of my balloon so that when it sits in the cup, it's less likely to just blow out with a stray breeze. So we're going to start with kind of stretching my balloon out, and then I'm going to slide it in my weights. All right, now I've got my weights in there. All right, we don't want it too big because it will be the size of our bowl. We definitely don't want to stretch our balloon to the full extent, because that will end up popping the balloon fairly easily when we're working with it. And see, with the weights, it just fits right down on there very easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of mark out my bowl. All right, so now I have kind of a line too. But when we do the buttons, you can overlap them off of this space. But this just gives me a good idea so that when I do the various layers of glue, I kind of know where the edge is. And then really, to start with, we're just establishing that very first layer before we put any buttons on. So that's really all you're doing. You're just going to take your glue and you're going to take your paintbrush and you're going to paint your balloon. Alright, just make sure there's no holes. Alright, there we go. That's our first layer. Alright, so it's been overnight at least, and we have, this is dry. I trimmed along the edges to get rid of any drips, and as you can see, this is all wrinkly. Part of that's because my balloon deflated. Unfortunately, I can fit it back on there, and honestly, the wrinkliness is not going to matter in the long run. It'll make a cooler texture on the inside, so I'm not too worried about it. So the next step is to actually add your buttons. So what you want to do with that is you want to make sure that you try and find your biggest button, or one of your bigger buttons, however you want to see it. I want to do the biggest button, because what we're doing is we're going to try and find the middle of the bottom of the bowl, to be on here, and we're going to add that button first, because that will be the portion that the bowl will rest on. So try your best to get it, but if your bowl is a little lopsided, it just adds character, right? So I'm going to add a little bit of glue to my button, but I'm also going to add glue. I think I'm going to mark this spot as being the bottom to the balloon. Now don't get too messy with this, like the other thing, because we can't afford it to drip too much at this point, because we need the buttons not to slide off. Alright, so you start with that, and then you just start building up buttons around that center point. But that's how you start it. I'll be back once I've got all the buttons on there and it's dried. We've let our balloon, I taped it up so it wouldn't deflate as much, right? But we got our buttons on and they're all dry. I did lose one, no big deal. I'm just going to reattach that one real quickly. But putting the glue on the glue for the buttons actually makes it easier for it to stick. That's the reason why you do a layer of glue before you put the buttons on. Gives it some place to stick to. All right, and now we want to start one of many layers that we're going to be doing of glue over the buttons so that we can create our button bowl. All right, and here is this. Now, I'll admit I got a little impatient and I put too many layers of glue at once, and I seem to have terrible luck with my balloon deflating. But I just wanted to show you what this looks like once you have everything done. So now I have this shape that it's okay because of the way that my balloon deflated, but it would not be that hard to take some scissors and just trim along the edges here. And then you would have a fully effective and beautiful balloon bowl. Or if not, you have this, which is perfectly fine. It was a lot of fun, and there you go.